Hi, this is a YouTube librarian on Patreon, and I'm reading from Yeva Stelietska's "We Don't Know What War Is," a diary of a young girl from Ukraine. This is day 6, and the truth is, blood has been shed in Ukraine, and the U.S. is going to put $2 billion down on the war in Ukraine, so more blood will be shed. Um, So it's not totally inappropriate within the context of a video game that features the word blood in the title. There is no, I'm not trying to draw unusual attention to Eva Skilietska as a target or anything like that because I don't see, I don't, I haven't seen any evidence of people with teeth like that, except for canine teeth on dogs. So, I'm not. I hope it's not inappropriate to work with Eva Skalietska, but still, even if it were inappropriate, so what? I mean, what is she going to get harmed as a result of being associated with a vampire video game? Like, is she going to feel threatened? I mean, I think I'm going to get hurt now because a vampire video game. I mean, even if that were true, I still don't know if that's not inappropriate. Um, so I decided to read from her diary. I like her diary. It's not the first time I've read a diary by a kid. The first one was, of course, Arthur Rimbaud's Season in Hell. Excellent work, and he he ended up going off to Africa and gave up writing. And then I read Diary of Anne Frank, Diary of Anne Frank, yeah, and it was excellent. I tried to do a book discussion group on it at the library, and did, in fact, have a book discussion group on it. And then, of course, the Middle Eastern girl who was shot by the Taliban, her book came out, and I took a look at her book, and I didn't have a problem with it either. There's nothing wrong with Eva Skalietska's story so far. It has a nice uh, language, relaxed style appropriate for a diary. The most significant contribution that she has made is establishing the timeline. In her world, the war started on a specific date, and I consider that to be a significant contribution, February 24th, 22. I'm reading from her book, and I come to this particular video game every once in a while, and I tell you the truth. I think I just come here to vamp out. I show up to this game, and then I just kind of groove inside of this environment for like, I don't know, man. It could be an hour. I'm just like, so if you look at sometimes the game, you have these characters just standing there. They must be like so into the visual experience. By the time they get here, all they do is like stand there to some extent. I mean, it really is an unusual phenomenon. I show up, look at what my character is doing. I got to choose a different character. My last character was a very nice looking African American guy wearing an outfit nice, kind of relaxed. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if it was overly expensive. Totally reasonable, totally possible to achieve. I think he had like a T-shirt on and a pair of jeans and a pair of pants. I don't even remember all of a sudden, but so now notice that my character is just standing there. What? Not moving around. Yeah, every time I come to this video game, I just stand there, and then sometimes I wander around a little bit, and then I wonder why I'm like, vamping out in this environment, you know. And there is actually what looks like an archivist or librarian sitting there, standing there with a bunch of books. So the storytelling potential was built into not just this video game, but definitely in this video game. And I didn't necessarily pick up on it. It took me 41 months to get to the storytelling performance venue idea. And believe me, I was very happy about it. So I hope that this particular librarian isn't going to be upset and kick me out for reading something inside of his uh, uh, venue. Now this is because I'm not necessarily huge into the vampire culture. I was a big fan of Anne Rice books and did in fact have a chance to go to her $20 presentation at the University of Illinois and see her in person. But I can't say that, you know, that I took the course at the Harvard Extension School on vampires. I did study Dracula by Bram Stoker quite seriously, and I did enjoy Nosferatu as a movie from 100 years ago. Gary Oldman's performance was excellent, I thought, and my understanding is they have supernatural powers to some extent, especially if you get to the real thing. Um, I don't know. I mean, blood, the red, I think is very significant right now. Other movies that I was into was, of course, like the Twilight series. And with the Twilight series, I wasn't sure about the sexual, their relationship, because I sometimes don't know if they're asexual or sexual, or and whether one should go the sexual route with their storyline or the asexual route. So, regardless, in this particular video game, you notice that my character is still just standing there. This is not unusual. So I'm just kind of here, and I have my PlayStation identifier there, Mighty Panda 170. Uh, so I guess vampires do get us a little bit nervous. And so I'm trying to think about the ethics about reading about Eva Skalietska's book. I don't necessarily think that she's going to have problems as a result of me reading her book. I mean, she's already. So I don't know if I should read the red-covered Putin book instead. I mean, is it? Am I putting her? Am I? Is it unethical to read what I want to read? I mean, what's the connection? The connection is there's blood being shed in Ukraine. That's it. So what's the thematic element? Blood is people's lives. People are casualties of war. So there's probably blood, people who took a bullet or something like that. Now, and that's it. That my brain is not actually, thinking that, Eva Skalietska is going to be harmed in any way as a result of reading inside of a video game. But and then I don't understand, because are you saying that what if I were to RPG roleplay game this from a vampire point of view and find her interesting? Would that be? I mean, even the idea of an innocent victim, like, you have to understand, I'm inside of a vampire storyline. I mean, why would I be so concerned about her ethic, about her as a person inside of a vampire? I mean, if I were a vampire within role-playing RPGing here, then I might have just found her interesting, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know if it's inappropriate from that perspective either, from an RPG point of view. So that's it. I mean, I can't take. I am I don't see any problem from a fictional, uh, with moving forward with reading. You Don't Know What War Is, The Diary of a Young Girl from Ukraine. As I said, this is probably the fourth book by a child that I've read in my life, and I like it. I don't know if I've read anything else written by a child. Okay, so day six, our apartment is gone. I had a wonderful dream last night. I dreamt of my school, and most importantly, of a peaceful sky. My friends and I were running around carefree. It felt like the good old days. I wish things weren't the way they are now. I'm so tired of the sound of explosions. I really want to hear the sound of peacetime again. Birds singing and the sound of rain. It was so nice before the war. I want to go back to my old life. The shelling around 6 a.m. this morning was no joke, but it's quiet now, I think. Even so, the grown-ups are lining the windows with scotch tape in case of a blast. There are planes flying around in the city center. Freedom Square was just destroyed by a single missile strike. There's a video of the bomb exploding in it. You can see two cars, one of which swerves to the side. Some people jump out of it. Two more people run away from the impact site. They're saying that bombs also hit the zoo, Der Strom, Gorky Park, the university, and the Opera House, as well as the Philharmonic. Everything's happening at such incredible speed. 10 a.m., Ina went to buy some groceries despite shelling hailing down. This time she was successful. 12 p.m., we have heard some traumatizing news. We got a call from one of our neighbors telling us that our old kitchen has been hit by missile. We're told there are emergency services outside our block of buildings. A granny is on the phone trying to get someone to pick up the keys from here, but no one can help. We're told there are emergency services outside our block of buildings. Granny's on the phone trying to get someone to pick up the keys from here, but no one can help. As for the kind of missile that caused all this, the emergency workers are saying that it was a submunition from a cluster bomb, which are banned under the Geneva Convention. They urgently need to get inside to check that there aren't any unexploded submunitions threatening to level the entire building. They had to break into the apartment. There weren't any unexploded submunitions, but the kitchen was blown to pieces and the hallway is full of debris. This hurts because my childhood was spent there. Attacking my home is the same as attacking a piece of me. I'm starting to feel depressed, but I'm fighting it with food. I feel like my heart has been squashed. There were such memories there, our Italian furniture, our fancy dinner sets, the glass table. Action of my sorrow. I don't care as much about the things themselves as much as I do the memories they held. I spent my childhood there and has simply been destroyed. There isn't much left of the apartment. Why doesn't anyone care? Why? Do you enjoy fighting in cities? Destroying everything in your wake instead of fighting in the battlefields? Kharkiv is being destroyed bit by bit. If you want a detailed description of what happened to my apartment, then read on. We've been given all the details. The balcony, the kitchen, and the part of the hallway leading into it were all destroyed. Bits of plaster, rubble, and broken glass filled the hallway. My bedroom windows were blown off, but the room itself seems intact. The living room, along with its windows, was spared. The front door was so bashed up that even if Granny had managed to get the key over there, it wouldn't have helped. The emergency workers closed the front door as best as they could and fixed it in place with tape. We want to weld the door shut. Will there be anything left in our apartment after the war? 7 p.m. Today has been a day of constant aviation. As usual, once it got dark outside, Ina's friend went back home. Granny was in the kitchen making tea when suddenly she saw a giant drone. All of its lights were flashing. It flew so low over the house that she dropped to the floor. Ina and I were in her little room when we heard it. It sounded strange, not like a plane at first. We got down on the floor. We didn't rush down to the cellar this time because if the house were blown up, no one would know that we were down there. We wouldn't just get buried. The drone did a circle around the area, dropping bombs as it went. A rivers of tears, I lay on the bed, and for the first time in my life, I just thought about how I really want to live. My heart stops every time another bomb gets dropped. I was holding on to every minute, every second. I've never been this close to death. I was praying for the plane to fly away and for the bombs not to hit the house. Just praying, God help me. I couldn't breathe. After a while, it all got quiet, and I eventually settled down. I checked my phone, and Ivan was on his way to Poltava when he sent a photo he'd taken of a flying missile. Diana was leaving Yelka Danivka, and there were houses burning behind her. We went down to the cellar after all. I tried to get some rest down there, but I couldn't sleep, so we ended up going back upstairs. You know, this is Mike, this is a YouTube librarian on Patreon, and I I remember when the coronavirus pandemic started in 2020. I read some good testimonials about how terrible the symptoms were, and nothing else made such an impression on me other than those testimonials. And so I really believe that this Yiva Stelietska wrote a really good book about the war in Ukraine. The war in Ukraine, to some extent, has replaced the coronavirus as the main topic of interest when it comes to world affairs. I mean, there is nothing more significant right now than Putin's intervention in Ukraine. And I believe that this book by Yava Skalietska is probably going to be one of the best contributions we're going to get from the war. You know, when you're here in Chicago, how do you get information? I did see a couple of photographs which were shocking. I saw body bags outside of nice homes, black leather body bags with corpses allegedly inside of them. And that particular photograph made a huge impression on me. I read some good speeches, including on September, was it September of last year? A very Putin doing a speech in which, I mean, I'm not like, I don't want to get into trouble for this, but I mean, if he says that he's fighting the Nazification of Ukraine, he has, in my opinion, you know, he's allowed to do that. I mean, that's SS is in the beginning of his missile law, the names of his missiles. If you were to look up the names of his missiles, most of them begin with SS. It's not. I don't think it's inappropriate for Putin to fight the Nazification of Ukraine, but I also don't think it's inappropriate for Ukraine to defend its borders. Unfortunately, I can't take it any further than that. If I understood correctly, he already had an interest in Crimea, and some people in Ukraine had an interest in either joining the European Union or rejoining Russia, or they have all kinds of ideas when it comes to politics. I actually do, to some extent, have a Russian, Ukrainian background, so I do have a little bit more of a personal interest in the war in Ukraine. And but how do you get we might not get better information than this story by Yava Stelietska. So a couple of significant speeches by Putin and the Ukrainian president, a couple of good photographs, and so I see here it says solo blood hunt. I just thought, well, blood is being shed in Ukraine. But more significantly, if you were to question whether it's appropriate for me to do so, I want to clearly say that After 41 months of study of the video game industry, I'm almost sure that this is yet another, this particular scene, you see there's a man standing there with a bunch of books. It really was intended to be a platform for reading a book or a story. So we're not going to argue about this point. What you have to understand, even though you don't appreciate it yourself, many very expensive games turn out to be a platform for someone reading. Um, Many of them end up just being a visual stage for reading a story. So from that perspective, it's totally not inappropriate to read this particular text. It's just an idea that there's blood being shed in Ukraine right now. But I don't know. I mean, if I'm supposed to look at it, RPG it from a vampire point of view, I mean, does it mean that that would be... I can't, I just wouldn't, it wouldn't be inappropriate from that perspective either. So I'd say this was YouTube Librarian on Patreon, and I thought there was some really good detailing in that particular chapter, day 6 of You Don't Know What War Is. It did actually have a couple of photographs of her apartment being devastated, which added, I would say, reinforced the authenticity of the text. I thought that was evidence to support the claim that she really is writing from the point of view of someone who is experiencing the war firsthand. How many people want me to continue on? Yeah, you do. But you're going to have to wait until the next YouTube Librarian on Patreon posting for that to occur. And what we'll do, in order to make sure that this is legit, we might have to do a little bit more of an analysis. I did quite a bit of a presentation up front. I'm not sure if it's inappropriate for me to have a recording. It probably, let's take a look at the beginning of the book, because there may actually be an issue here. Why? Because I'm recording the actual text, I may actually have violated the copyright in doing this. Now, if I post this to YouTube, it would be inappropriate for me to have recorded this. All rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, including electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission from the publisher. So now we know what's inappropriate. It's inappropriate for me to have recorded this reading and then uploaded it to a Patreon or YouTube. And so I am guilty.